just towards the bottom of the wildflower meadow, and it looks like there's a squirrel dray up here. There's this big bunch of leaves, so I would think there are some little squirrels tucked up in there for winter. It's bitter today, and obviously it's winter and we're doing loads of work, so that's not unexpected, but I've stolen Sard's Canadian hat, so don't tell anybody. Today we're going to get some more trees in. I'm doing a little bit of landscaping. So thinking about the overall farm and how it sits within the landscape, and how we can not only add trees and things for biodiversity and conservation, but how we can do it in a way that creates also a beautiful landscape, and even also adds the extra benefit of, in terms of trees, offering shelter for animals, offering windbreaks, and things like that. So we're going to go into the down to the trees and have a little look at where we're going to be planting some pines. So before we go off and start looking at where we're going to put trees, I just wanted to introduce you to this book. It's called The Thoughtful Gardener, and it's where I get a lot of my inspiration from. I do quite like formal gardens, but for myself I'm more of a natural gardener, and when it comes to the landscape, I want to kind of, as I mentioned earlier, I want to kind of put stuff into the landscape which complements it and also makes it more beautiful. So I do get a lot of inspiration from this book. It's by Ginny Blom, and just so I can show you a couple of this is the opening picture. I mean, look at that. Isn't that just gorgeous, with the poppies and then the fields beyond? And then I'll just show you another. See, every page I open now, I'm going to love this. Gorgeous. And then it was page, where is it? So this is the kind of planting that I aspire to here. So this is kind of your cottage garden look. It's very naturalistic. And then when I'm looking at trees and I'm trying to think about landscape, and when I say that I want to put in trees to not only increase biodiversity and help conservation, but also add to the beauty of the landscape, it's things like this that I'm talking about. So I will put a link to this just below. Check it out. Beautiful book that I come back to time and time again. And I will be thinking about that as we go off and think about where we're going to be putting these trees in. So we are just coming down to the woodland that we began to plant a couple of weeks ago. A couple of the trees have been knocked over, so we've just come in and stood them back up. But you can see for the most part they're all still in the right place, and I'm going to plant a couple of these pine trees, and you will all know my love of pine trees, and I'm kind of trying to keep in my mind as well that book, so the book by Ginny Blom, The Thoughtful Gardener, because that's kind of the planting I aspire to here. So we're going down to one of the groves, or the glades that we planted. So I planted 3 consecutive glades that kind of will have meandering paths between them, and then I planted a grove just down in this back corner, and it's a secret grove, so it's not going to have a path to it. So it's got hazels all the way around, and then it's going to have this pine tree right in the middle. Now of course with pine trees, sadly, even if I do have another 40-50 years left on this planet, I'm not going to see it grow to a vast size, because they are slow growing. But we'll get them in, and then I can enjoy seeing it grow, and then hopefully generations after me will come down to this glade and see this beautiful, magnificent tree and enjoy it. So as with last time, it's far easier to take your trees out of the pot. So I've taken all these little fir trees out of the pot, and I've just got a root ball. Now some of them, as you can see, have got dead bits on them. That doesn't matter, they won't grow back. So conifers, it doesn't grow back, but they're still alive. They've still got these lovely tips, so they're still worth putting in. So I've got several varieties. These were all really cheap. They were about £1 a couple of years ago from IKEA. At Christmas time, at this very time. You can see this one's really ropey, but it's still got some greenery at the top, so let's plant it. So I mean, this is all but dead, but there's some greenery, so let's give it a go. But the tree we're actually going to plant in this location is the biggest of the lot, and it's this little beauty. It's just a gorgeous pine. So we're going to pop this in, and I just can't wait to see it grow. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it looks a little bit stupid, but it is a lovely tree, and hopefully it will grow to be a beauty. Now I've just got to decide what to do with these guys. I actually haven't worked out where I want them on the farm. I kind of feel like I need to think on it a bit more carefully. I really like statuesque single pine trees when they become a sort of a piece of sculpture almost, but then I also like groups. So I've got to think about where best to put them. For now, while they're small plants, I'm just going to get them in the soil. They're better just to be planted here so they can grow on. Remember, conifers and pines also have quite shallow roots, so and they grow slowly. So I can make my mind up where I eventually want these plants in a couple of years' time. So for now, I'm just going to plant them into the ground so they can start to get a decent root ball on, start to get a little bit of growth. I'm thinking maybe along the back of the wildflower meadow. So I'm going to go on a little stroll and work out where I want to put them. So I've ended up probably as far away from the wildflower meadow as possible. I'm right up at the other end of the farm, near one of the restoration ponds. Because I was kind of thinking about destinations, and actually I don't have a destination up this end of the farm at all, other than the pond. This field right over there is in fact my field. I hardly ever go there. And if you think back to the historic gardeners of old, when they did big estates and things, they always filled them with places to go and sit, where you would go on a walk and you'd find a little, I don't know, wrought iron sort of seat around a tree, or further afield maybe that you even might need to ride out to, and there'd always be these destinations. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to come out here, I'm going to put the pine trees kind of right out here. I am going to just plant them in for now and then move them at a later date, but I think up this end of the farm is probably the best place for them for now. Who will also make me come up here, because I'll have to come and check them out, and that in itself is a destination. So that's 9 little trees in. They're not going to stay obviously in a row like this. I've literally just popped them there so that they can settle in, grow a little bit. As you can see, they are minute at the moment, so they can be there for several years before they probably need moving. I think I will put a couple into the pit. I like the idea of being able to kind of look over the edge of the pit and see these statuesque trees coming up. The others, as I say, I think I'm going to create some kind of destination in the field over there, possibly with kind of a, if I can find a really cheap or bargain priced wrought iron spherical seat or something like that in the future. I might do like a little glade of pine trees over there, get a few more, maybe 10 to 20 pine trees, and do that as a destination to go to. But for now, they're in and they can start to grow. Well, the weather has started to turn again, so I've got the hat back on. I'm so happy that I've got those trees in. It's nice to have them out of the house and up here, and then of course as soon as the warm weather arrives in spring, they will start to grow very slowly, as pine trees do, but they will start to grow. I hope you've enjoyed this sort of instalment of the farm and thinking about obviously how to benefit the landscape, both for creatures and conservation, but also for beauty. I am going to go and hide from the rain for a little bit. If you've liked the video, as always, please consider subscribing and hit that thumbs up button. If you're on Facebook, come and join us at Brimwood Farm's community group, but I shall see you next time. Bye bye.